Diagnosing and troubleshooting drivability problems on your vehicle doesn't have to be a mystery. And actually, replacing the component that failed is the easy part. The toughest part is deciding where to start. Hi, I'm Scott Cusey, and along with me is Jim Bates from Wells Manufacturing as we take an inside look at diagnosing, troubleshooting, and repairing drivability problems on your vehicle. Now, Jim, a real basic place to start is with some hand tools.
That's right, Scott. The same type of tools you'd use around the home for any type of repair.
Sure.
But along with that, we're going to need some manuals. And we brought a couple along today. Now, this one is for a specific type of car.
Okay, and the nice thing about this is it has all the specifications in it that you need on your specific vehicle. So a manual like this is most likely going to be necessary during your diagnosis and troubleshooting.
That's right, Scott. And this one is basically how to use tools. Okay. How to use your basic tools, specialized tools, and it's got the step-by-step procedures that you're going to need at home to do some of the diagnostics you need for troubleshooting engine performance problems.
Certainly, and the best place to start is with both manuals. From there, you need a few specialty tools.
Here is something rather unique. It's a voltmeter, it's an ohm meter, a tachometer, a dwell meter. It's called a multimeter. And this is a real basic tool that you'll need to do a great number of repairs at home.
Certainly. Now, I want to note that it is a digital meter also, and that's what you're going to need because many of the test specifications are within hundreds of volts or even thousands of volts, so you're going to need that to be very accurate with your testing methods. Now, down here we've got a universal tester also.
Right, and some attachments that go along with it for specific applications. A universal tester such as this carries its own power supply. It has an indicator light that turns on and off to tell us when components are working or not working. It has color-coded clips so that we know just how to hook it up, and a very, very good manual that comes with this to tell us how to use it to test the various parts that we're going to be testing later on. And as I mentioned, the custom connectors that makes the job that much easier.
Sure. Some of the connectors that you have to probe into to test on the electronics of your vehicle are very small, very minute connections. The actual custom connectors like that make the job go a lot easier and a lot quicker. What else do we have?
Well, we've got a vacuum pump. This is a handheld vacuum supply that can be used to pump up something that we want to test the vacuum chamber on and see if the component works or doesn't work as it responds to vacuum.
Certainly. And over there we've got a propane cylinder that many people are used to seeing right on a regular propane torch, but on the top of it is not a torch tip, is it?
No, we have a special valve that we use to administer propane into the engine through a vacuum port, and this will enrich in the mixture when we want to test something to see how it responds to a rich or a lean mixture.
Okay, very commonly used for testing oxygen sensors while the engine is running. And right over there.
Now, this is probably one of the most unique tools that we're going to be talking about today. Let me hand you this little key. That's called a code key. And this is what we use to put computers in diagnostic mode. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a late model car with a computer, you can actually use the vehicle's onboard computer to help you make the diagnostics that you need to do.
Exactly. And what we're going to use this key for is to plug it into the ALDL or ALCL connector. And what that stands for is assembly line communications link or assembly line data link. You'll use this tool along with what you're holding there, Jim, correct?
Right. Now this is another light, an LED, but this is a high impedance type of a device that's actually used so that the computer can blink out the trouble codes to us on cars that don't have an indicator on the dashboard. Now General Motors cars and Chrysler vehicles have a check engine light right on the dashboard that the computer will use to tell us what the trouble codes are. Now, some Ford vehicles, though, don't have anything like that, so we have to supply a device that will give us the codes.
Okay. As a matter of fact, right now, why don't we step over to the car and we'll show you just how to extract those codes from the computer. Extracting the diagnostic codes from GM vehicles is actually one of the easiest to do, and you can do it from sitting right in the vehicle. But you're going to need just a couple items to do it with. First off, you need a pad and a pencil to write down the codes once you get them out of the vehicle. And you're also going to need the correct manual to be able to tell you what the code means once you've got it out of the vehicle, as well as the diagnostic chart that you'll need to begin service. Now, there's two other keys that we have to have, isn't there, Jim?
That's right, Scott. The first one, of course, will be the one for the car itself, because we have to turn the ignition on to get the system operating. This, of course, will turn all of the dash lights on. And one of them in particular that we're going to be looking for is the service engine soon light.
Or that may appear as a check engine light on your vehicle. Either way, that's the light that we're going to watch. Now, the other key we're going to need is not absolutely necessary. We could use a paper clip, but for our demonstration, we're going to use what we call a code key.
That's right, a little code key, or simply a device that puts the vehicle's computer into diagnostic mode. And to do that, we're going to insert this code key into the diagnostic connector. Now, on this car, it's located under the dashboard here, just near the steering post, and it has a little plastic connector that I'll pull off that says diagnostic connector. Sometimes, though, a car won't have the little plastic cover. It will have simply a open connector such as you see here, and it has a lot of terminals in there. The top two on the right are the ones we want, and I'm going to insert the code key into the top two terminals on the right, which starts the service engine soon light to flash. Now, the computer turns this light on and off to tell us what the codes are. Right now, it's flashing a code 12. 1, 1, 2. And it's been doing that. It flashes each code 3 times. There was 3 flashes. 1, 2, 3, 4. A 3 and a 4 is a 34.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4.
And again, as we mentioned, it'll flash the code on a GM vehicle 3 times, so you can actually see it the second or third time in case you missed it the first time around.
And there was the third code 34. So we have a code 34 in the computer.
Okay.
A code 12, which is the test code, and a code 34. There's a very long pause here, Scott. I think the computer's done. It's checking itself out. If it's done, it'll flash the code 12 again, and it just did. It just started flashing the code 12, so it started all over again from the top.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take that code 12 and code 34. Of course, code 12 we know is just the diagnostic mode for this vehicle, but the code 34, when we look it up in the manual, says it's a mass airflow sensor circuit problem. So we've got our starting point. The other thing that we want to do then is take our manual, turn it to the actual diagnostic chart. Now, we can do one of two things at this point in time. We can either go out, test the mass airflow sensor, which we'll show, and if we don't do that, you can actually go down the trouble code 34 chart with your digital voltometer until you find out what the actual problem is.
Now, after we've finished extracting the codes and determining their meaning, all we have to do is turn the ignition switch off, remove the code key, reinstall the plastic cover if your vehicle is equipped with one, and there you have a very simple test to determine where you need to be working on your vehicle.
Now we have to get the codes out of the vehicle once we're done with our service, and that's real easy to do also, Jim, isn't it?
That's right. To erase the codes once we're done, simply disconnect the battery cable for a few moments, or if you have a keyless entry system or a programmable AM/FM radio where you may not want to reprogram it, simply find the fuse in the fuse box that says ECM and remove that fuse. That too will clear the memory.
Okay, so as soon as you've got your service done, clear the memory, drive the vehicle, and then check for codes again.
Retrieving service codes from a General Motors vehicle is very easy. Just follow these simple steps. Locate the diagnostic connector. It will usually be found under the vehicle's dash. Insert the code key into the diagnostic connector and turn the ignition key to the run position. Observe and record the codes flashed by the check engine or service engine soon light. Next, reference a service manual or tech tip to determine the part or system in